This episode is sponsored by WACOM, WACOM.com. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Face the Truth. I've been an illustrator and painter for many years now, and when I work digitally, I work on either a Wacom Cintiq or a Mobile Studio Pro, also made by Wacom. I work on a Cintiq, which is an LCD pressure-sensitive screen. I love it because I can draw directly on the display surface, enabling me to draw and paint digitally in a way that feels natural and very close to how I work when painting traditionally. I'm happy to announce that Wacom and I will give one lucky artist who participated in this episode drawing challenge a Wacom Cintiq Pro 13. Congratulations in advance, and thank you, Wacom. Well, I hope everyone had a good holiday season. I had a really good time with my family and friends. Looking forward to the new year. My guest this week is special effects artist as well as illustrator and fine artist Anthony Kosar. I've known Anthony for many years now. He's an awesome guy, truly humble, and a passionate, hardworking, and dedicated artist. He's won countless awards, including winning Season 4 of SYFY's special effects competition show, Face Off. He's worked on several TV shows and films and has some pretty cool things coming up. There's so much to cover when it comes to Anthony. He's a busy guy, so this episode is a little longer than usual. Towards the end, my camera battery died, but no worries. Anthony supplied me with some really cool footage of him working in his studio, so I think you'll be happy. We had a great time chatting together. I think you'll enjoy this. So without further ado, Anthony Kosar. Okay. Welcome to my studio.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, thanks for coming, man. And I was thinking about this for a while now, last couple of days, about what I was going to say, what kind of questions I'm going to have for you. And I started thinking about it, man, and there's a lot that we could talk about. We met each other probably 2004, something like that, when we were in art school together. We could talk about that a little bit. I'm sure people will be interested. But there's so much. And I really started thinking about what I'm interested in is how you got started in the first place. So just to set this up a little bit.
Okay.
We met in art school, and we were both very passionate, very competitive artists, and I think we connected right away because I think there was like a mutual respect where. It's like, okay, yeah, that guy is not joking around. You know what I mean? That's what I felt when I met you.
Oh, totally, yeah. When I remember meeting you for the first time, we were, I was standing in line on, I think it was like the first day of school, and we were standing in line to get our pictures taken for our photo IDs. And, here I am, and, just taking it all in, and there you are, a couple of people in front of me showing your awesome portfolio, and I'm like, holy shit, man, like this guy's like so freaking good, like, oh man. And then all of a sudden I find out that you're older than me, and I'm like, phew.
It's like, this guy's an old bastard. He's an old fart. And I was like, yeah, as soon as I realized he's an old bastard, I wasn't worried anymore.
No, it was awesome though, but getting to know you and going through school and anatomy class especially.
And that was back when, when you had a portfolio, you actually had a book, where you're flipping through, you have pages, you have prints, and you cared about what the quality of the print was. Like sometimes I would go and I'd get it printed 5 different times until it looked right. Now we just have like an iPad or something. We just show, which is actually more convenient. But this is dating us now, basically.
Yes, this is analog.
Yeah. And but like one of the first times I remember realizing what you were all about was Halloween at the school. You came, people dressed up, I don't think I did. I was a mature adult at the time, and I had a 1-year-old baby. So I wasn't dressing up for Halloween. No, I'm just kidding. I probably didn't because I was boring. And like you said, an old bastard. I was an old bastard.
An art student, new father. That's what you were for Halloween.
Yeah, I was a dad for Halloween. But I remember you showed up and you looked like a character from you could have been on film. I mean, it was like amazing. And I think you said that you woke up at like 4 a.m. or something and started applying your makeup. And that's the first time I was like, what the fuck? This guy is like, this is insane. So, and just so everybody knows out there, Anthony's known for special effects, but and I have so much respect for that. But the other thing that's impressive to me is the dude can paint. He can paint he can use almost any medium, and I think that's what also, obviously helps you with your special effects work, is that you've got this foundation of understanding several different mediums. I remember when you were in illustration classes and they're like, oh, you have to do a marker assignment, and then I saw what you did. You're like, oh, Anthony's just. Now he's a professional marker artist. Like, what the hell? I've never used them before. Oh, really? I remember like Jason Farley was like, did you see what he did with markers? I'm like, and I'd see it, I'm like, God damn, that's crazy, But so that's basically how we met. We only had one class together. We had an anatomy class together, and it was that by far my favorite class and the most helpful class for me, because to be honest, I wasn't really getting much out of the other classes, except for just the practice, like drawing from life and all that kind of stuff. But that class, I had to really work hard. He had to every week we had to memorize all this anatomy and be able to draw it.
Well, that's what was so good about that, because I think directly after that, our year in that class, they changed it and they went strictly textbook with everything, and just remembering basically what it is and stuff. But the way we had it was awesome, because it was learning the anatomy, but it was memorizing how to draw the bones and how to draw the muscles. And our midterm was drawing the skeleton front and back from memory, every bone and the whole thing, and then our final
206 bones front and back,
and then our final was an overlay
of the muscles.
That we had to memorize every muscle, where they were and everything, and while
and not only, by the way, did we have to remember all the bones and all the muscles, but they had to look good.
Right, they had to look.
We had to draw them well.
That was the whole thing.
Yeah.
To not only remember where they go, but know and understand how to draw them, the function, the overlapping, and insertion, all that stuff. And while I don't know most of the names of everything, I do remember how to draw and know where they all go. And I think that was more valuable for me as an artist, is to know, in our motor skills where everything goes, and it helps more than just being able to point at it and say its name,
And the one thing, and by the way, the school that we went to was the American Academy of Art, downtown Chicago. And it's a great art school. I mean, I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was really amazing, because it focused primarily on the fundamentals of everything. So we got to
and there was even classical music playing in the hallways sometimes. Just felt like, oh, I feel like an adult.
Yeah, amazing artwork on the walls everywhere. Some from current students, some from famous alumnuses. So it was pretty neat.
Alex Ross, everywhere. Alex Ross.
But the one thing about that class is Mr. Kozlowski would not give a perfect score at all, and barely gave A's.
Yeah.
And I remember we would keep trying, we'd keep coming close or whatever, and just never happened. And then finally we're like, come on, Kozlowski, Jason, it's perfect. What would you have done differently? Just give him the 100%. And I think he finally...
That's right, you stuck up for me.
He finally gave you the 100%.
I was obsessed with getting straight A's, because I was such a terrible high school student. And it was 8 years after I graduated high school, and this was everything to me, to be able to go to art school. And I was getting straight A's in classes I never thought I would have, like essay writing and math class, everything. I was getting straight A's. And then this guy was like, I don't give an A. And I was like, what the fuck? And so I remember what happened, which was really funny, was that people started getting pissed at us, because he would say, okay, for next week, I want, the front and the back of the skull drawn, and a side view, and, just draw it with pencil. Well, I was like, I'm gonna do 3 paintings in acrylics, and I'm gonna try to do it as photorealistic as possible. That fucker's gonna give me an A. That I was like, I'm getting an A. And so I would spend all this time. I did these paintings, and then and I would get just below that. And I remember one time that you actually were like, "Come on, are you serious?" and then all of a sudden he gave me an A, but everybody else got B's.
Yeah, because it went like that was like the piece from which everything else became judged. You know?
And then people started getting upset. They're like, "Oh, okay, I guess the bar just got raised," and it's like. But then it became a competition. Then I remember the next week you come in and you have like full on like crazy stuff. So it's like that was a fun class because we just kind of were feeding off each other.
Well, I think that's what's important about like art and this community of artists is it's not that competition is bad, but healthy competition is like really good.
Yeah.
Because it like when you can like succeed based off of each other and like push each other. It's like you need that, to be in competition with yourself, but to also have that healthy competition to push each other and to like celebrate when you get that A.
Yeah.
It's like that's what's I think really important about like the whole artist community.
Yeah, I mean, and trust me, I have met way too many successful artists out there who, I look up to, and then I meet them, and they're the opposite of that, where they don't want to see you succeed, and it's like it's not only is it heartbreaking, but it's really sad because. I mean, we're all like family in a way. We all like if you're passionate and you work hard and you want to achieve greatness in your work, and you see someone else doing that, how could you not just celebrate that? Right. Especially when they become successful, especially when cool things happen. I
mean, the whole great thing about art is that everybody gets to build off each other. Everything you see, and now it's just so easy to see amazing things online with Instagram and other social media. It's a little easy to see it crowded with a lot of stuff that's not so great, but it is like if you follow certain artists and stuff, you can constantly be seeing amazing things, and you enjoy seeing, all this. And it's just like what happens and how it builds. For one, you can just continue to work with that and work off of that. So it's like it's just this huge community of that. It's amazing to build off of. It's amazing to like, get inspired by other artists and get inspired by their successes. You should never really just look at their successes and get angry or down yourself for it. You should just like see their successes. And
I mean, in one way though,
inspired by
it. Okay, so in one way, I totally agree with you, but I also think though there's a healthier opposite of that. Whereas, like for example, there's certain artists that are friends of mine. We're friendly, and I'll see them get a piece in Rolling Stone, and I'm like, God damn, like I wanted that one,
Right.
And but at the same time, you're like, oh, he killed it, dude. He did a great job. And then I'll write him like, dude, that was awesome. But I'm like, oh, I wish that was mine.
Oh, of course,
and then the next time I get the opportunity, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna kick his ass. Kick his ass, Seabass.
That's
But it's not like an angry thing. It's like, okay, all right, buddy, good job, bud. Well, you know what? We'll see what happens now. But you know what? That is good. That is healthy, and that's normal. So I want to go back though, because this is one thing that I was curious about is, I know that you've got a very, very supportive family. I know your dad and you are super close. Your mom is a sweetheart. I love your parents very much, and they've been.
They both said hello, by the way.
Oh,
my
awesome.
dad just texted me. He's like, "Good luck. Tell them I said hello."
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I love your parents. They're the coolest people, and and your sister is very awesome. They're all super supportive. You've got a very creative home, a lot of support. And what I was wondering is, how did this all start for you? I mean, excuse me. I mean, when you were just a little buck, were you were how young were you when you started drawing, and when was it when you started getting a passion for the special effects? I mean, was it when you saw E.T., Indiana Jones? You know what I mean? Like, I'm just curious because it goes for me. It's like I always just was drawing, and I never got it. I did a wood carving, a few wood carvings when I was a kid, just experimenting. But by the time I met you in art school, you were already just like you already had your craft down, And so, where did that start? How did it happen?
It's a very big question, because I mean, I was lucky to have a supportive family. I had parents that pushed me and my sister to try everything and anything, and we were in sports, we were in theater. My mom was a dance choreographer, so I was on stage, I was doing dance classes, I was doing art. I was drawing ever since I can remember because I always just enjoyed it. So it was just kind of like, basically for me and my sister, it was always just playing around and doing different activities and figuring out which ones we enjoyed. And obviously art and drawing and painting was really exciting for me, and I was doing it ever since I can remember. Anytime I had a break or whatever, I was always just like drawing, and I know that's a story for a lot of artists out there.
Yeah.
But for a good chunk of time, what most people don't know about me is I did dance professionally for a few years, and the production that I was in ended up closing after 30 years, and that was when I was in 6th grade. And at that time, that's when I was really focused on the art. Went from the performing arts specifically into the visual arts, and I started winning art contests, and it was just kind of like, just submitted on a whim and won that one, submitted on another one and won that one, and it was just kind of like this like adrenaline rush of like wanting to draw and submit to all these art contests. And so that was kind of like what took me from there. And when it comes to like actual like special effects, for me it's just the love of art and performing arts and theater and movies and Halloween that kind of like was a culmination of all those things.
Tim Burton.
Special effects. Yes. Tim Burton, long before Disney would claim Nightmare Before Christmas, when it was still Touchstone. That's when I was a fan.
So I know we have a mutual the original Batman Tim Burton movies. I mean, Nightmare Before Christmas. I know that we have like similar. Like I love to listen to the soundtrack to Batman Returns while I'm painting, and
it's the creepiest music ever.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So, but like, so when how old were you when you first started getting into the sculpting thing? Like,
I consider my start when I was 16. Because every year, they'd have, ceramics in art class, and the art programs, where I went to school was, at no fault to my art teacher. She was, of course, like, strong-armed by the powers that be. Mm-hmm. But the art program was very, very lacking. And it was just kind of like the typical, ceramics, fire the clay, put a glaze on it, and that was pretty much how far sculpting went. And over the years of high school, just like wanting to become a special effects artist. And to answer part of the question from before, there's a lot of movies, a lot of things that kind of like screwed me up as a kid to make me what I am today. But the biggest one is Jurassic Park. And, the dinosaurs that were created by Stan Winston and his team were just like, he was my hero forever. And
by the way, we're gonna put a pin in that because if I don't remember, you bring up Stan Winston again because I want to talk about that later because I know you got to meet him and work with him. So,
he like when I kind of got out of the whole performing art thing, went into the visual arts. I always had this longing to be a paleontologist because, of course, what kid doesn't like dinosaurs and things to Jurassic Park, and after going through the museum and seeing them all picking at these dinosaur bones underneath big magnifying glasses, taking little chunks of plaster and stone away from the bones and everything, I'm like thinking, like, man, that was like a lot of work, and just very tedious. So you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna paint dinosaurs instead. And then when I found out about the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, I'm like, screw that. I'm gonna make dinosaurs. And so that was kind of like what pushed me into the world of special effects, and
which is ironic a little bit because I think, and again, I want to bring up the whole face-off thing because I watched you and witnessed you on that. That seemed like a lot of fucking work. I think that's a lot harder than digging up dinosaur bones.
Well, that's the ironic thing is because now every time I do a sculpture and I make a mold, I'm sitting there with very tiny tools like picking out little pieces of clay out of my stone plaster mold. So it all comes full circle anyway. But yeah, so
that's pretty funny.
But I had a very supportive art teacher in high school, and Miss Pietrantoni, she was amazing, and she knew that like what I really wanted to do, so she allowed me to use art class as a study hall. So I would end up like doing all my other homework during that class. I would, if I needed to sleep, she'd just let me go in the corner and sleep because she knew I was at home up all night teaching myself sculpting and special effects and making prosthetics. And I very much owe it to her giving me that time to not have to spend on homework, which you should always, do your work, do your homework. I'm not saying not to, but, she allowed me to spend that valuable time at home working on this and like experimenting. And when I was 16, made my first prosthetic with foam latex. And that's kind of when I really focused on it was my start, because that's when I like really sat down and sculpted. It took me 3.5 months to like figure it out and do it, and
wow.
And then turn in those projects as my art projects. So that's what I would do.
So basically, when I met, were you 18 when I met you? So you'd only been doing it for a couple of years then,
right? That's
awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I'm not trying to like diss anybody that was going to the school at the time, but I remember having a hard time relating with anybody because, I was 26 and I was working as a professional illustrator already. And the only reason I was there was because I thought that maybe I could learn a few things that would help me become a faster illustrator, because I was so stressed out with my deadlines. I had already worked for Time Magazine. I had already worked for, a bunch of different things. I did something for Budweiser and, different companies. And so I was doing stuff, but I was so stressed out. Mm-hmm. And when I went to that school, I was so focused. And when I got there, there's a bunch of 18-year-olds that are telling fart jokes and playing video games, and they're late to class.
And playing hacky sack while smoking pot by the front door.
Yeah, and it's like, and then they're like, dude, how do you do what you do? And I'm like, yeah, I'm the first to class, the last to leave. That's why.
Right.
And
I'm the one that's up all night.
Yeah.
Right there with you.
So you were one of the only people that I I clicked with, because I'm like, oh, this guy is serious, man. There was a few students like that, but that's how I really, I was like, all right, and you know what, ever since, it's been fun watching, watching your career, and like just even the both of us, just like what's happened to both of us in our lives. And it's just really exciting for me as an outside
likewise,
watching
man.
you.
Likewise.
And we have a lot more to talk about, but as you know, part of this podcast, I ask fans to do drawings, and it's a chance for fans out there to do a drawing of my guest, get that guest to see their work, and it's also just a little bit of fun entertainment, and so we'll see what you think about it. So this first one is by Don Lee.
Awesome.
And it's sort of a more of a comic booky type black and white thing. And by the way, I think one thing he captures quite well is like, you grow one nice beard, man.
I just started growing this last night. I've been cursed.
I wouldn't doubt it.
I'm cursed with lycanthropy. Every time there's a full moon, but even sometimes when there's no full moon, it just grows. But thank you. I've only had the beard for a year. But yeah, this is awesome. I especially love how expressive my eyebrows are. I can't stop looking at them. I know. And what's nice about them, why they draw so much attention, is because while everything is such stark black and white, there's a nice little gray area within those eyebrows. So
little half tones in there.
Yeah, I feel that if this was animated, these things would be like going all over the place. Looks great.
So this one is pretty awesome. This is by Rich Connolly.
That's amazing.
Yeah. This one goes well with what we were talking about with our anatomy class. I mean, This is like right up that. I mean, I think it's kind of genius, to be honest.
I mean, they got the whole concept of face off like right in there. Mm-hmm.
It's gross. It's awesome and it's gross.
I really, really enjoy this. This is pretty fantastic, especially considering how creepy it is, especially when you see a face without eyes. I love that thing, and to see that.
Well, what's interesting is he clearly did a caricature of you first,
right,
and then removed it.
And you still have that muscle structure, that fits directly underneath that. So I do appreciate that too.
And the hands are all bloody. You obviously ripped your own face off.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. He even got like the, like your arms. Like, I mean, they could be a little bit more hairy as far as I'm
Hey,
concerned.
what are you trying to say, man?
Well, it's like that Greek fur,
Whoopa. That's awesome.
This one is by Paul Davies.
Oh man, I have a monster that's like airbrushing me.
Yeah. I like how, what the thing is a lot of the people that drew you for this, they really went out of their way to incorporate the special effects thing. So I think you're going to enjoy them quite a bit.
I have to say, and they're all getting my bandana, which is nice, which, covers most of my forehead. This one is like, my forehead just... But that's what the bandana's for, because it keeps my head contained. So So over the years and over my career and stuff, it doesn't allow me to get a big hair head. It just keeps it contained within there. So.
All right, we'll look at one more, and then we'll continue on. This next one is by Jared Hobson.
Oh man, I look like I'm part of The Walking Dead on this one.
And then I'll zoom in. It's like.
Man, the intensity. Eyes are so glossy too.
Yeah, that's from a long night working.
Yeah, that was right before I grew my beard.
Yeah,
yesterday.
Yeah, I like that it's also got like the 5 o'clock shadow, the coloring and everything goes with the background. It's pretty nice. Jared is actually I've known him for a few years now. He was actually a past student of mine, and then throughout the years I've watched him just do some awesome stuff. Like he does a lot of iPad sketches and records them and shows them online and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
He draws tons of caricatures. So,
but I do like that purple undertone, kind of brings the whole thing together.
No, he's pretty awesome. So, man, so like I said, there's so many different things that we can talk about. I do want to talk a little bit about the face-off thing. I have one funny memory about this. Is years ago, I think it could be like 8 years ago or so, I was watching Face Off, and I think it was like one of the first seasons. And I hadn't written you or anything, but I was watching the show, and I watched about 3 or 4 episodes, and I'm like, man, Anthony would kick these guys' ass. Like, that's what I was thinking. I was just like, because I was seeing stuff that I was like, there was a few people that were just amazing, but I was just like, and then I was like, I gotta tell Anthony about this. But then I thought, he's probably gonna be like, I don't want to do that kind of a thing. But the funny thing was, I wrote you, and I said, hey man, have you ever heard of the show Face Off? And you were like, I don't think so. And I was like, dude, you should check it out. It's on SYFY channel, and it's crazy. These people are doing all this, I think you could win, dude. And you were like, and you said, you were like, I don't know, yeah, I don't know if that's my thing. I think you were just like not into doing that reality TV show thing, right. And you take your work very seriously, and then we didn't talk about it again. We saw each other a couple times, but we never talked about it. And then a few years later, boom, you're on Face Off season 4, and like if you can talk about, because here's the thing. That was, for you, I know it wasn't a great experience, but for me, I felt like a proud papa. Not that I have any credit for anything you do, but just that you were my friend and you were on there, and every episode, I didn't know, because you couldn't tell anybody.
Right.
But I didn't know what was going on, but I'd watch the episode, I'm like, oh, dude, he smoked it. And I was watching you just working so hard, and you were so focused, and you were so passionate, and there was times where you looked like you were gonna cry. Like you could just see that everything was in there, and it was so much fun watching you on that show. And then you'd win episode after episode, and there was like one episode, I can't remember, it was like some weird bug thing where you didn't win, and I was like tomfoolery, that's not true, he won, and so I was like, that was like throwing things at TV and everything. But it was an amazing experience watching you go through that. And also, here's one thing I want to say, because I've never said this to you before. Your character as a person, you are one of the most humble, down-to-earth, hardworking people I know.
Thank you.
And when you were on that show, not only did you maintain a calm behavior, there was times where you got angry and you threw things around. There was a couple times where you got pissed off, and I was like, okay, Anthony is human, okay. But you also were picking other people up, and you were like a leader on that show. And I just was like, man, I'm so proud of him. And then you took it all the way through, man, and you fucking won. You won Face Off. It's insane. I still can't believe it. You know, I mean, I believe it, but it's an incredible feat. I mean, is there a way that you could just try? I mean, it's hard to explain, but if you can, talk a little bit about the experience, what it was like behind the scenes, maybe, and just how you got. I mean, what made you decide to do it? You know.
Well, after, you know, I watched the first season, and you know, if you watch the show from season to season, the first season was different than the second season. It had a lot more conflict, and had a lot more like them putting people against each other, and I think they would make the person who won the challenge. They'd have to say who they think should go home, you know, and there was a lot of like drama inside the house and stuff like that. And after watching that first season, it was kind of like, man, this isn't my cup of tea, man.
It's like a soap opera.
Yeah, I don't enjoy this and stuff. And you know, there was a few really talented artists on that first season, but besides that, like, it just, you know, I watched it just because it's part of my industry. But beyond that, like, people would be like, oh, you should go on the show Face Off. And it's like, yeah, no way. You know? It's probably when you told me.
Yeah.
And then second season rolled around, and I guess, you know, the SYFY audience did not really enjoy the whole drama aspect of it. And so I ended up taking that out for second season. In second season, you started seeing artists who would be like, you know, more about the art and more about like pushing each other and pushing themselves and stuff. And there was still a little conflict because there always is and stuff like that, but it wasn't so intense or forced, you know. So I hadn't seen season 3 yet because it was filming while we auditioned, but after seeing that second season, it's like, okay, you know what, I feel confident enough in this, and you know, why not? I had a friend I'd done work for. He kind of gave me 2 things that he said that were really like kind of stuck out my mind, that really changed my mind about it. He makes action figures, and I designed some of his presidential monster action figures.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And he had told me, like, you know, 2 things. Like, one, if you don't go out for it and it ends up getting canceled or whatever, then you might have regret for the rest of your life. And number 2, now I'm starting to blank out on what the second thing was. It was very important. Because I always said, like, oh, it's not the right time. It's, you know, it's not the right time. I'm too busy doing this. It's not the right time. I'm too busy doing that, you know. And he basically said that, you know, it's never going to be the right time. You just have to make it the right time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of those 2 things that like really made me feel that, you know, after a while, every time someone would bring it up, because, you know, especially because I teach classes, I teach special effects makeup and everything, and students would ask and people would ask at conventions, and after a while, it started sounding like I was just making excuses to myself why I wasn't going to do it. Mm-hmm. And so finally, it's just like, you know, season 4, they started auditioning. Hadn't seen season 3 yet. So just like, okay, you know, I'm going to do it. I had like only a few days to make a prosthetic and film myself doing it and applying it. And then after that, we had like only a few days to go. Once they told us that we went to the next round, we only had a few days to like have a complete different makeup in a different genre to take down there and do it in front of them. So it was just a very like...
So before you actually were on the show, you had to go through 2 tests just to get to that point.
One was a video test, and the other was like to apply it in front of them with a bunch of other people. They'd photograph it, and then went through a series of interviews with the producers and people from the network. And it was funny because, like, you know, I mean, I like to have fun. I like to joke around and stuff, and you know, but I also, you know, I'm very competitive. So they did ask me a few questions, and one of them was, you know, why I'm here, what, you know, and I just joked with them. I said, well, I'm an artist, and an artist needs an audience, right? You know, you gotta have people see your work in order to, like, you know, keep producing and stuff. And then the second thing that they asked was, you know, watching the first and second season, again, because 3 hadn't aired yet, you know, was there any challenges that you saw that you might have done good at and won? And I just smiled. I said, most of them. Which apparently I didn't lie. Yeah, so, yeah, it was just a crazy experience. It was so much fun. But at the same time, while I will say it was some of the most fun I've ever had. It was like also the most amount of stress that you could ever have. Like we were sequestered for like the longer you're there, the longer you're sequestered, of course. I was sequestered for 2.5 months. No contact with family or friends, no communication with the outside world, no internet, no phone, no TV,
Wow.
nothing. You know, all that we really had to do was like hang out with each other. We were in a mansion at the top of a mountain, which was kind of nice and peaceful. And strangely enough, it was like the first time like that I can remember that all I could do was just sit there and do nothing. And it actually kind of felt good. Like you just sit there, you know, I mean, I don't smoke, but a couple of contestants did. And so every time they went out, they would smoke at the house. I just go sit outside with them just to chat and chill and stare off into the other mountain, watch the little tiny cars go by on the other side. And, you know, just very peaceful, you know, but you needed that when the other half of it was just an insane, intense amount of work. And, you know, we couldn't watch anything that had any special effects in it. So we basically had like a TV that didn't have access to television, but only to a bunch of DVDs that they had for us. And they were all basically romantic comedies and dramas that don't incorporate special effects. We had to ask them if we could at least have the Indiana Jones movies. And one time they did take us to see The Dark Knight Rises. So we actually got to like go out for a minute and
man
stuff. But like it was during the Summer Olympics. They wouldn't even tell us how many gold medals the USA had. Like we didn't know anything. It could have been a zombie apocalypse for all we knew.
And when you were in that mansion and in that where everything's closed off and you were just with each other, I'm sure you guys became close.
Yeah.
So it started probably becoming kind of painful and sad when people had to leave.
Yeah, like no joke. Like it was hard because the hardest one to leave was probably the first one, because it was interesting where we competed for the first day we competed a small challenge, a foundation challenge, and then the next day way it goes, we had our interviews, and then we had the next day off. So we basically had like Saturday and Sunday just to kind of like chill and be around each other. It was like a lot of fun. And like when you're thrown into that environment, like you get close to those people, you know, you become like friends, and because you're all in it together. And the nice thing about Face Off is we're all artists, and we're not there for the drama, we're all there for, you know, bettering ourselves
and the opportunity and everything.
We all wanted we all wanted to win, but we didn't want to win by somebody going home for the wrong reasons, you know. We wanted to win by like actually like overcoming, you know. And so it was. So every time someone went home, it was very hard. It was very sad, you know. And you know, that's the nature of the game. But still, like it's just a whole different dynamic. Like every challenge was 3 days, but each challenge felt like each day felt like a week.
It looked, just from watching it, and I understand like what goes on behind the scenes of things like that, it looked exhausting, and you looked exhausted a lot of the times. That's why I was really impressed that you held it together the way that you did. Now, when you guys were at the house, was there like things going on at the house where just like people getting at each other, or was everybody pretty cool with it? I mean, it's like, I'm interested just because when, you know, the way that the media and different things can edit things for the viewer can come across differently. Like on the show, maybe it makes someone seem like they're kind of like the enemy or something. But was it like that?
You know, there was one antagonist in the house that most of the people didn't get along with. I lucked out and I was able to get along with most of the people, pretty much everybody there, because there were times where, you know, people would end up butting heads and things like that, and I had to work with those two who butted heads twice before that as my partners in the finale. So, you know, it just was helpful that like I did get along with everybody, and but yeah, they didn't really, you know, the nice thing about that show is they really didn't go in and make anybody specifically look bad or specifically look good. Like good. Unfortunately, like they can only use what we give them. You know, so it's like if you give them a reaction, if you act a certain way, like they have that, and you did that to yourself, kind of a thing. So.
Yeah, and that was one that you definitely held your cool a lot. Now, as far as like, on a realistic level, I mean, what was it like at the house? Like, did you have your own room that was just your room, your own bathroom? Like, what was the food situation like? Did they have a fridge? Anyone just goes? Was it like communal? Like, there's a fridge full of stuff? Did you like, hey, Alfred, when you go get to the grocery store, make sure you get me almond milk. I don't, you know what I mean? Was there like lists you made and like all that kind of stuff?
It was very, relaxed and everything. Like, we all shared rooms. As soon as we went in the house for the first time, we all selected our rooms. I luckily selected the room that was the most quiet because I just wanted to chill out and go to sleep, while some of the other rooms would just talk and laugh and party all night long. I just wanted to go to sleep, so I lucked out with the quiet room. But as far as food goes, when we were on set, or like either at the stage, or the reveal stage, or in the shop, like we'd have lunch, there provided for us and stuff like that. The time to eat it came out of our time in the shop, though, so we had to strategically plan.
So you had to plan, like, hey, do I need to eat today?
Right, like sometimes like it's crazy. Like molds should take an hour before you can open them, before they're like fully hard, fully set. We were popping molds in 15 minutes, which is ridiculous. Like we're like, basically doing everything we could to manipulate the medium, and that's where understanding the medium really comes into play. Is to basically kick it off like 4 times faster than it's supposed to. So we finished making our mold. We were putting bags around it, shoving blow dryers and everything in there to like just kick the process. We're running outside, stuffing our face for 15 minutes, running back in, opening molds. So it's like, it was intense. But like when we're in the house, the fridge and all that was supplied for us. And sometimes, depending on what we like and dislike, they would like, bring certain things for us. Like I'm addicted to Flaming Hot Cheetos, so they always had small bags of Flaming Hot Cheetos in the house.
I remember that.
Yeah. And, after a good day, I'd have 1 small bag of Flaming Hot Cheetos. After a bad day, I'd have 2. But, we'd all like take turns cooking for each other. And since, I'm a terrible cook, I cleaned a lot of dishes. Yeah. So we basically would rotate, and, everybody would, do their part, and it was good.
That's awesome, man. And, it was really cool one awesome thing that I got to experience throughout this is that you are my friend, and just like watching you and like, they reveal your sketches, and I'm like, oh damn, that's awesome, dude. And I was so proud of you, man. And then watching you bring that sketch to life, I was like, how's he gonna do that? And just watching it, and then the times where you have to like work with someone else, and they're just not quite there, but you kept your cool and you're like carrying them, and it's like that other person has to carry that load. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you can't help who you have to work with. So there was a lot of things during that show where I was like, Anthony's killing it, man. And then the cool thing about being your friend with this is that towards the end, you had a reveal party at the very end where me and my wife and kids, we all went out to your studio / school that you teach, and you had you went, nobody knew if you won or not. And we were there to watch the finale show, and it was the awesomest night ever. Just the fact, it's just like that you went through this huge journey. You went through, and then they reviewed, I think, wasn't it in Vegas where they had the finale? Yeah. And we got to watch it with you, and you knowing already that you won, Dude, that was one of the coolest experiences in my life. And
glad you got to share that with me, because that was...
It's awesome.
To be able to, we're contractually bound to like not say anything, but not even to like let my parents or anybody know.
And for the record, you didn't tell me shit. Like I tried a couple times.
A lot of people tried, but
like, come
I
on.
only told one person, and my dog keeps the best secrets. Yeah. My dog didn't tell anybody.
No. So. And like even my daughters were so excited, and they were, they were like, they couldn't believe that you and I were friends, and because they would watch the show, and they started watching the show just because that's my buddy Anthony up there. And then when we got to go to your place, they were just like, oh my gosh, there he is, and so that was a really cool experience for them as well. Well,
it was cool. Like that's why I really didn't tell my family, didn't tell my parents, didn't tell my sister, didn't tell my friends, didn't tell anybody, because it was it's a very lonely journey, because even though you have the people around you who are also competing, they're also as close as you get on the show and being friends and stuff, they're also your competitors. So if you're having a bad day, you can't be like, you know, like sometimes you go and you talk to people, but you can't be like, hey man, what do you think I should, you know, get another set of eyes on it? Like usually my dad or my mom or somebody around the studio would like, you know, if you give you just another set of fresh eyes to look at it, or if you're in some creative corner, you know, they kind of help you out of it or whatever. But here it's like you can only rely on yourself. And that was the hardest thing, is not having your family, or you know. So the longer that went, like I said, like each day felt like a week, each week felt like a month, or each challenge felt like a month, and the whole thing felt like a year. So I feel like I came back and it was like completely a different like speed of like life, like just slowed down incredibly. But that was the hard thing. It's like the work wasn't hard. I mean, well, it was, but that wasn't like what got you. What got you is like, you know, inside your mind, you end up creeping in. It's like you miss your family, you're you know, and it's like that's what like is hard. So allowing my family and friends and all the people who are close to me to be at this event and to watch, you know, week to week to week, was a way to allow them to kind of experience it with me in a way. Like they experienced it in the same time frame that I did. So that's why, like, when it was announced that I won, it just made it all the more exciting, because had I told anybody that before that, it would just been like they would have known it's coming. But waiting till that moment, they, you know, even though they weren't there for everything and they don't show everything on camera, they were there week to week to week, so they went through that entire process, you know, through watching it. And then,
so,
you know,
so when you won, when they had the Vegas episode where they you know, your characters went out in was it Cirque du Soleil or whatever it was, like
Le Rêve, the Dream.
Yeah. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, there were so many cool things. Like you won the comic book challenge where they actually, you know, put your comic character in a comic book. I mean, there were so many cool things that happened. But in the final reveal in Vegas, when you won, excuse me, even then you weren't allowed to, like, you couldn't tell anybody, because how much time was it before they actually aired it on TV?
The finale filmed in early mid-September of 2012. And the finale didn't air on television until March 28th, 2013.
Holy crap. So you had to keep that quiet for that long.
Yeah. It was weird. Jeez. Too, man. Like
and your parents never, you never could talk to them about it?
No. But it was weird because, like,
that's so crazy.
It's almost, man, like when you not to downplay anything or even compare this to, you know, the struggles of like, you know, people who actually do have to go to war or whatever, but that's what it felt like. It felt like, you know, at the end of Lord of the Rings, sitting there and you've got your hobbits here just like quietly sitting there, you know, having their drink while everybody else is celebrating a big giant like pumpkin, you know, and stuff, and nobody actually understood what these people, you know, did or went through except each other. And it was like a weird kind of thing like that until it actually could come out, like it'd be real, because like it was so fast paced, and all of a sudden it was really like just dead stop. And it was a very weird transition. And like even like going out or like you know, going out with friends, or, you know, there was a girl I met right before and tried going on dates afterwards when I got back, and it's like, oh, what's new? Well, what was new 3 months ago? Like, it's kind of very,
you can't say
like
shit.
The last 3 months of my life didn't happen, so it was just a very interesting transition. But once they started announcing it, then it was like able to like, okay, well now I can actually say I was on it. And then like as episode to episode came by, it just like went like a whirlwind. It was pretty intense from there.
That's crazy, man. Well, you know what? Before we continue on, I think you should face the truth again a little bit here, and see what some of the fans have done. So let's do that. So this next one is by an artist named Lars Eric Robinson, or Robinson. A lot of zombies.
I look really chill considering I'm by a bunch of zombies, but that guy's giving a thumbs up, so they're not going to eat me yet.
Yeah, it is kind of like, like, this has been my dream to be eaten by zombies. Everything's okay.
What I like about this one is they kind of like merge two worlds together, because like this project was originally done for Sears back in 2011 when I did this zombie campaign for them, where these makeups came from, and at that time I only had a 5 o'clock shadow. So it's kind of cool to see, it's almost like a blast from the past. Like, here I am today with a full blown beard.
He's updating it.
Yeah,
he's trying to make it relevant. So this next one is by, I'm going to try to say this name correctly, Eddie Abdullah. I hope I'm saying it right. I'm so bad at names. Or it might be Edie. Eddie or Edie.
Well, one thing I will say, everybody's been like drawing me some pretty luscious hair, so that's pretty rocking, right?
You've always had the hair, and there's times where you had like the highlights in there. You had the John Bon Jovi thing going on.
Yeah, this has my my sideburns, which once upon a time I coveted.
I still can't grow sideburns or a beard, just a mustache.
Well, you wear that mustache well.
This is only 2 weeks old, by the way. This is only 2 weeks old.
Really?
I just grew it. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you can watch the podcast and watch it grow. Because like literally I decided, like, people keep saying, you should grow it back. I'm like, yeah, maybe I will. And my daughter, she loves it. She's been like, I'll hold her and she just smiles and she just starts petting it. She goes like rubs it and stuff.
Yeah, so that's, facial is a lot softer than people think.
Oh, yeah, no, it's cool.
Oh,
so
cool.
It'll get longer as it goes on. So this next one is by Jair Rivero. I hope I'm saying that right. But this one's pretty cool. I like how they're working in the special effects there in your face.
Yeah, they've got, my eyes are glossed over, my teeth are cracking and falling apart and yellowing, and my face is starting to deteriorate. That's pretty cool.
In other words, you look totally normal.
This is me usually about like 4 a.m. when I'm still at the studio working. So
Yeah.
So what's his name? Her name?
Jair Rivero.
Well, Jair Rivero, you captured me when I'm very, very tired.
That's awesome. This one is by Amir Malkosh.
Oh, this is cool.
And it looks like like drawn in a sketch. I mean, this is analog. This is like
I can appreciate
back in the
that.
day,
I like
with
that.
actual pen on paper.
The little bit of color in there, a little colored pencil maybe.
Definitely got the smile in the eyes.
Yeah,
That's what I think.
Yeah, you got my little crooked smile in there. I like it.
And it looks like there's some flaming hot Cheeto stain on the.
Damn it,
on
you
the,
caught me.
So a little bit of that.
And my finger's still orange.
Yeah. This one's like me and you together by Bright Ackworth.
You just took the brain right from out of my head.
Yeah, I'm picking your brain, man. It's part of the podcast. I love this one.
I'm like itching in my skin or something.
Yeah. I like how I'm holding your head still with one hand and then pulling the brains out with the other.
And you're like look so calm while you're doing it. You're just like
very focused.
You're like I've pulled the brain out of many of artists' head before.
Yeah,
So
I do this. This is my thing. And by the way, I gotta say, you totally got my nose, you son of a bitch.
I love it.
Here, we'll do one more because we got a bunch more. This one, this one is by Alberto Santiago.
It's amazing. So if
I think that might be me as well. I don't know.
That's actually one of my sculptures. That's the Inferno.
Okay.
And he's carrying me on his shoulders. And yes, he would be wearing a exactly like that. That's pretty awesome. Once again, got the 5 o'clock shadow going. Luscious hair. They got the highlights in there.
There's the highlights.
Yeah?
There's the highlights I was talking about. All right, so we'll continue on. We'll try to continue on. So I mean, man, you've done so many things. You've been so busy. The face-off thing was just another feather in the cap, basically. It's a really cool experience. But since then, you started a school. You've got a huge studio space, and you're teaching special effects, which is really cool. I am blanking on his name, and forgive me, man, I'm so sorry, but one of my past high school students, I think Harris, maybe, took a class with you, but we went to high school together in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, at Memorial High School, and I think he and his brother, they're twins, but he took a class with you, and he made a comment on my Instagram, like, at some point, like, my teacher with current past student, schoolmate are doing a podcast together,
That's awesome.
I'm just blanking on his name. Again, I'm really sorry, but he took the class, and I've been seeing some of his work and stuff, and it's just amazing how many people that you've inspired and that you've started to teach and have people working with you. And I don't know if people are apprenticing with you and how that's going, but if you want, and I know again, there's so many different things that I want to talk to, so I want to try to make sure we get as much covered. But before we talk about the school, real quick, you can try to keep it short if you want, but one of the cool things that I am like, man, that's such a great experience, was that you got to go and work with Stan Lee, the crew, Stan Winston. Sorry, Stan Winston.
It was an awesome work with Stan Lee. Too.
Yeah, not Stan Lee, but Stan Winston, and you got to go and you got to do some work, and I think you did some work on the Indiana Jones film, and you did different things. Could you kind of just briefly talk about that just a little bit?
Yeah. So my junior year of college, my sister, she's a director, so she went to grad school out in California, was looking for places to go, and at the time my mom was going with her to check out some different schools, and my mom's like, I'm going to take your portfolio, I'm going to show you George Lucas, and I'm like, George Lucas is going to throw it out, but while talking with a few of my sister's contacts, my mom, pulled out my portfolio and was showing her, and it was pretty incredible because they had no idea. The woman's just like, oh, this is awesome. You should show this to Stan. And Stan Winston's a very household name in my home because Stan Winston is the legend. Created all the special effects for Jurassic Park. Edward Scissorhands,
Terminator, right?
Terminator, yeah. Predator, Aliens. I mean, you name it. Like, Iron Man. Anyways, so it turns out she was friends with the one of the supervisors of the shop, and unbeknownst to me, they set up a meeting. They had an interview and everything just with my portfolio, and the guy offered an internship. So my mom told me while I was on the phone, I just was speechless. I couldn't even say anything. It's like so incredible because ever since I can remember, Stan Winston has been like one of my true inspirations and idols and someone I looked up to because of Jurassic Park and the whole special effects, everything he's done for it. And so getting a chance to go there during that summer and intern for them was one of the most greatest experiences of my life. Like, I got to learn so much. I got to bounce around from department to department, learn a little bit of everything. Met a lot of great people who I'm still in contact and friends with today, still work with a lot of them today, and still in touch with the studio. They're called Legacy Effects now after he passed away. But it's just such a great place, and I got to work on Indiana Jones 4, got to work on Avatar and help build the amp suit, the practical one that the actor would get inside and that he would control and everything, and a bunch of commercials, and it was just a really amazing experience. And I got to meet Stan several times, got to take a picture with him and talk to him. He signed my Art of the Winston Effect, the Art of Stan Winston Studio book, and wrote a really nice message in there. And
that's amazing.
I went back home to finish my last year of college, and he passed away 8 months after that experience, which just makes it even more like once in a lifetime feeling. And
like you got in there just the last moment to be able to spend time with someone like that. Yeah, that's a pretty incredible thing that you got to do that. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been so far probably one of my most favorite times of my life, and just being able to work with someone that you admire so much is just incredible. So that's something I always reflect on every now and then, and very lucky to never take that experience for granted, because it was just learned so much that summer.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. And So since the Face Off thing, like I remember you got the studio space that you're in now, kind of. I think it was just before all that, and since then you teach. You have a school, and what can you talk a little bit about the school that you're teaching? What you do there?
So I got the studio and started teaching back in 2011, just before the show, and it's definitely grown quite a bit since then. We teach all kinds of different workshops and classes, and are constantly updating them with stuff that we do with, because we actually work within the industry, and so we just did a pop-up workshop a couple weeks ago. That was everything that we do on set here in Chicago, because everything here in this market is all trauma based. So we're teaching everything from out of the kit applications to prosthetic applications with trauma. But yeah, it's just a fun way of kind of like paying it forward, because like when I started, there was nothing. There was no way of really learning this. There's really no schools. There was no classes or workshops. There was, we had YouTube, but at that time YouTube was just dancing babies and singing hamsters. There was nothing that has tutorials on it. There were no online schools or like tutorials that you could look at. There were no DVDs. There was like 3 VHS tapes and a couple of books. They had like read between the lines and tell you everything.
Yeah.
There was 2 websites devoted to it, and everything else was just like all trial and error. So, I really wanted to bring to Chicago and make it easy for people who wanted to learn this craft and wanted to, experiment with their artwork or take their artwork to a different level, or even like learn something from my world that they can incorporate in what they do in their own art form. Mm-hmm. So we keep everything pretty fun and pretty chill and laid back, but everything's very focused. They're like a few days, anywhere from like 2 to 8 days, depending on the class or the workshop, and usually on weekends. Sometimes we do it in a week-long program. It's just a way for them to have access to things that I never did, Yeah. And
that's awesome.
Even though the industry is growing and things are happening, there's still and there's a lot more places to learn. There's also, with that, you have to be careful where you're learning, because I'm constantly seeing very dangerous stuff being taught, when it's a lot of stuff that I do can really mess up somebody's face if you do it wrong. We're dealing with chemicals and glues and adhesives and life casts, and it's a very intimate world where we're like dealing with actors right up close and personal, and there's a lot of safety things that you need to know in order to do this. So that's what I really try to instill in a lot of my students is, have fun, be creative, but also like you have to know the process. And that's where, what's been fun with special effects, why I like it so much, is every job not only is a little different, because, you never know what the call is going to be, but at the same time, like there's so many materials and so many like processes and techniques that all go into creating one effect, and different mediums, and something always goes wrong. So knowing how to fix that, and knowing what's compatible
having
with
to be able
material.
to work under pressure when all of a sudden, oh shit, this is I have to, it didn't come off the right way, and now what am I going to do?
Right.
That's the one thing that I remember, watching when you were on the Face Off show, is that there were so many times where it was like I was stressed out watching, because I'm like, you're trying to take something apart and it just rips apart, and you're just like, oh shit, like what are you gonna do? And then watching you under that pressure, and some people completely just buckle and they lose it. But that's amazing, because in this line of work, there's so many things. Like for me personally, it's one thing why I was really excited to have you on this, was that there's just so many things about it that I don't know, I don't understand, about the process, the step by step. And I know it's too much to get into right now, but what I'd like to talk to you about next is just like how you've gone from all of this to, now you're working on TV shows, you've done some stuff for movies, and I'd like to know a little bit about, what you've been working on and how that's been going. I'm not familiar with all of the different TV shows or different things. I know you've done play productions and stuff like that, but I know you've been working on a few Chicago shows and different things. But could you talk a little bit about what it is that you've been working on? Maybe just what it's like working on a show, maybe a little bit. Just again, like I'm not very familiar with exactly what it is that you've been doing. I see posts here like I'm doing, done this and this. I have no idea. You could be doing, who knows what right now. But whatever you can talk about, I think it would be interesting just to hear what it's like. I know you've done commercials and you've done different things, but just kind of talk a little bit about what it's like working on either TV shows or film, and just maybe what it's like behind the scenes. Like, even when a director comes up and talks to you and say, hey, listen, this is what I need. You start with sketches, and then you have to start coming up with concepts. I'd just be really curious to hear about that.
Yeah. Well, in the TV world, the timing is so intense. Like, and since I don't work specifically for one show, I'm not exclusive to any one show, and I've kind of worked it out to be that way. I bounce around quite a bit. I've worked on all the Chicago shows, primarily Chicago PD is what I primarily work on. Chicago Justice, it was on for a season, but I did all the makeup effects for that.
And sorry to interrupt, but you were doing like things like cadavers and stuff, like dead bodies and different things. I saw some of it. It's pretty crazy, awesome. But I mean, isn't that weird? Like, hey, we need like a dead child, or
sometimes they give you time to work on it. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's makeup. Sometimes you're like sculpting these big elaborate props. All depends on the time and things that they give you. And like I said, the timetable is intense. Like you might have like a couple days to do something. You might have a week if you're lucky. You find out, by the time you get the script, you get the schedule for the next episode, it's a day before the episode starts filming. So it's pretty intense to even balance your time. And
one day before they start filming.
Yeah, so each episode shoots either 8 to 9 days, and you'll get that schedule like the day before. But if you're there every day, like a lot of people are, it doesn't matter. They're just going to be there. But for me, who's not exclusive to any one show, now it's like, well, I could have like 2 or 3 shows shooting on that the same day, like Empire or Chicago PD, or when Chicago Justice was on, or I've been on Shameless and all these other shows, and so like that's where I couldn't coordinate with my artists that I work with through my studio, primarily Anna Callie, who's also on Face Off season 10, but she's been working with me for 3 years now, and so what we end up doing is like we'll just go at it. Sometimes we do makeups on people. Not a lot of times are we able to do any concepts or anything like that. Sometimes if they're pretty elaborate, or like to sell the idea that I'm trying to get across, because everybody's got a department, everybody's got what they need and what they want and what they're good at. So like I have to like deal with not only the script but also the makeup department. Sometimes I have to deal with the hair and costumes and props depending on what's involved in the effect.
And you're doing this on set, most of the stuff?
Well, yeah, we'll
location?
do the applications on set. We usually build it out of my shop if it needs to be built. But then there's meetings involved, like you're dealing with the producers, directors, writers, ADs, and everybody who's coordinating everything. And one of the most intense ones we did was it had to be an open autopsy body. So all the face was supposed to be skinned and peeled back, and the whole chest cavity had to be opened up and all the organs already removed, because it was already supposed to have been done.
And so when you have to do something like that, I mean, I know enough about the anatomy from pictures and books and everything, but you've never seen an open cadaver before, like in real life. I mean, how do you even start that? I mean, do you Google images and see what shows up, or are you just kind of, do you have a little bit of a creative freedom there where you're like, okay, I know enough about the anatomy, I'm just gonna kind of use that and build off of it and just maybe exaggerate a little bit more, just to make it more expressive?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, you'd be surprised what you can find on Google.
Oh no, I'm not surprised at all. To be honest, there's a few jobs that I've done where I've had to illustrate certain things, and I just like Googled, whatever, decapitated head or whatever it was, and there is
lots of that shit on there.
Yeah, it's actually sad. Like
it's insane.
Like I don't have a
everything's
an upset stomach or anything like that. It takes a lot to get me going, but looking at enough of this like does, because what I do is fake, Like the stuff that you're looking at is real, and it's not even the fact that it's real that's like stomach churning. It's the fact that most of it was done violently by somebody else with that intent. And that's usually what churns my stomach. So like I've had to look up like burned bodies, I've had to look up like skinned faces, decapitated heads, like open
it is insane when you think about it that all that is available. You know what I mean? Like when I was in high school, the internet came out, as far as I can remember, in 1995. And I didn't know much about what it was or anything. I didn't know that it recorded your history. And I'll tell you a really funny story really quick. I don't want to go off track too much, but just to put things in perspective for people out there who are younger and don't understand this, I grew up in a time where there was no internet, there was no cell phones. CDs were like the big thing. And I remember, this is embarrassing, but I don't care, I'm going to say it. When the internet came out, I couldn't believe it. It was amazing. We got a Windows 95 computer, and it came with a Weezer music video, Buddy Holly music video, and it was so awesome. And I remember I was like, oh, wow, you can type anything on the computer, and it shows up. And my parents were asleep, and my brother was in his room, and I was all by myself. And I was like, can type anything in here. And I was like, I think I was 16 or something like that, 17. And what I typed, the first thing that I typed was Madonna naked. First thing I typed. And and there was all these pictures of Madonna naked, and I was like, this is awesome. How many different pictures can I find of Madonna naked? And my dumbass didn't realize that there was a history button. And so the next day, my dad took me aside. He's like, "Hey, I saw what you're looking at, buddy." And that's interesting. I know that you're definitely heterosexual. We'll just put it that way. Let's not do that anymore. And I remember being like, how did he know? How did he know what I was looking at? And I had no clue. That's where I come from. I come from that age of not any of that, where it's like, oh crap. I remember when you could email for the first time.
Yeah.
Thinking, I moved to Chicago from North Wisconsin, and I remember my dad and my mom were like, oh, there's this thing called email. And I remember like sending them email for the first time, thinking, this is insane. I can send a message, my parents see it, right? It's just amazing. But to think, what we are, the stage that we're in now, where you can literally go online and you can type in ripped apart raccoon. And there's probably hundreds of pictures of ripped apart raccoons. Why? Like all these people around the world film and video ripped apart raccoons and put it on there. It's insane if you think about the access that we have to anything.
It's insane. Like the amount, like to some aspect, it's good, right? Because you have like this never-ending reference material source. On the other hand, it's like some things probably shouldn't.
It makes me nervous about my kids on the internet for sure. Like
especially when as they get older, the generations that continue, like
there's a lot worse things than looking up pictures of Madonna naked. There's a lot worse things.
Yeah, that's for sure. Like machete victims.
Oh yeah, it's insane, man. It's insane. Sorry for the tangent, but
I just very interesting tangent.
I think people will find it interesting. I don't know. It's a true story.
We all
it's totally
know that Jason has a strong love for Madonna.
Yeah, actually, I don't even like her music at all. I just thought at that time I thought she was super hot, so I wanted to see her naked. that was I was 16, 17. The first thing I thought of is, oh, Madonna. Yeah. Let's check that out, So there you go, world. Now you know the truth. Don't like her music, but I think she's a fine lady. And now she's like ripped. Have you seen her lately?
No, I haven't.
She's ripped. But you know what? I don't really want to talk about Madonna anymore because actually this last summer I had an illustration job that I had to do, and I had to paint Madonna over and over and over again based on her Material Girl video, and I had to paint her in several different positions as photorealistic as I could, but based off of screenshots from the video, which were insanely of bad quality. You couldn't see where her nose stopped. You just saw like blurs. Like the eyes were literally just marks. And somehow I'm supposed to paint that in its most realistic way that I can possibly do it.
Wow.
And it was one of the most stressful, frustrating jobs I've ever worked on. And I really quite frankly don't really ever want to see Madonna again after that experience. So I think it's karma. I think somehow Madonna got me back or something happened there. So it's a full circle. Anyways, back to the whole movie thing. I know we went on a little bit of a tangent there, but so when you're working on these TV shows or these, what was it? Chicago
PD.
Chicago PD. Yeah. So what happens? Because you're not just working exclusively. So they call you and say, "Hey, we need this and this and this. Can you do this in this amount of time?" Or is it like?
There's no can you.
But I mean, you don't have like a set contract. Like, hey, you have to be here tomorrow.
No.
So you basically they approach you and they say, "Hey, are you up for this?" And
yeah, there's an understanding. Like I have it worked out with the different makeup departments and stuff that if they need something, they'll usually come to me first. Shows like Empire, they won't. If I'm not available, they won't even use anybody else from here. They'll use specifically, if me or my people, for instance, like Anna isn't available, they'll use someone. They'll bring someone out from LA. They won't even mess around. And especially on a show like that because they have such high class. Actors and celebrities on their show specifically. Like I got to work on Taye Diggs, I worked on Taraji, I've worked on Demi Moore. I mean, it's just insane the level of talent that they have on that show.
Like when you're doing a show like this, there's got to be so much pressure.
There is, but like when you're working with them, like when you're with an actor, everybody. It's very interesting because like some people don't like the makeup process. They don't want to sit in your chair. They want to get out. But it seems like especially like the ones who are like who have made it, who have done it. Like I've done makeups on Jessica Lange, John Malkovich. It's the actors who've been around and who've done it. William H. Macy. So they love being the process because like it helps them even more in their role.
Yeah, it helps them make their character feel more realistic and believable, and it helps them with their acting. Now, so you've actually put makeup on John Malkovich, William H. Macy, both insanely awesome actors. When you're doing this with them, when you're applying the makeup, are you pretty much quiet the whole time and just focused on your work, or do they talk to you? Because that's got to be an interesting situation because in your mind, that's fucking John Malkovich. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
and William H. Macy. It's. Do you try to do like short talk with him, or is it? I mean, I don't know.
It depends.
It just seems like such a crazy.
Yeah, it's like makeup's a very intimate thing, right?
Yeah,
I'm all
exactly.
In your face
you're
or wherever,
right in there,
wherever you're working. It's not always.
I can
the
imagine.
Face.
I mean, because you have it's not just like, hey, I'm sorry, sir, we're fitting you for your costume, whatever. You're like full on, like you're touching their face and doing whatever else. That's a strange thing.
Yeah.
Like I've touched John Malkovich's face. That's a strange thing.
Well, like everybody's a little different, right? Like so, like William H. Macy, he was awesome. We talked to him a little bit, and everything. And as big of a fan of the Jurassic Park series as I am, it took me everything in my power not to be a fanboy and be like, tell me everything you know about working on Jurassic Park 3. But like just talk, which I didn't do, by the way.
But did you? I mean, it's probably one of the worst Jurassic Parks. I mean, in my opinion, I don't know. Am I wrong? I mean,
not wrong.
Okay. I'm just saying, like, I mean, that would be in my head too. Like, I'd want to be like, so did you know it was a stinker before you got involved? I mean,
but how cool were the dinosaurs? Really?
But he's like, there was no dinosaurs. There were just a giant pile of shit with a cell phone in it, and we had to find it. But that's a pretty awesome thing though, because I'm not trying to put like celebrities up on this huge pedestal, but it is, as an artist.
There's
I've had like I worked on a movie years ago called The Breakup with Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston, and it was actually when I was going to art school with you, and I worked on this cheesy logo, and they wanted it cheesy, and I had to do it a certain style. But one of the coolest experiences I had was they invited me to on set, and I got to go and watch them film a certain scene, and I saw Jennifer Aniston in the distance, and I was like, that's just weird,
Yeah.
And then I got to meet Vince Vaughn.
That's cool.
And he
also
was
in the Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Oh, also in Jurassic Park. And
did I mention I'm a Jurassic Park geek? I'm sorry.
And it was weird. It was weird because I watched him in between takes, and he came up and he had my artwork on the back of his jacket, and he was just like, "Hey, buddy, nice." He was like really friendly, and but it was like I was kind of like in and out. I didn't get to hang out there very long, but it was just really interesting. Like it was weird for me. I was excited to work on a project, but to just all of a sudden be there and like, oh my gosh, that's Vince Vaughn. And then I walked by Vincent D'Onofrio. He was sitting down getting makeup on, and I remember kind of nodding my head like, hey, what's up? Trying to be nice. And he had this look on his face like, who the fuck are you? And I remember just being like, oh geez, I'm gonna leave now. But it just it's a weird thing because you don't normally mix worlds that way. But your thing is different because you are, the kind of work that you're working on is your special effects. So you're gonna have this thing where you're running into celebrities and different things like that. So it's a different, I think what I'm trying to say is it's a different kind of thing that you had to try to figure out how to I guess put it in that part of your head where like, okay, be cool, be professional, do your job, and that sort of thing. So that's just got to be strange though,
Like I said, everybody's a little different. Like, there's sometimes depending on who it is, like especially if I'm a fan of the person, then I'm a little bit more intimidated, where
if it was Tim Burton.
Oh, if it's Tim Burton or Alice Cooper, I don't know what I'd be able to do. They're each a little different. So like William H. Macy, he was cool. He was like talking to you and talking to people and stuff. And at the same time, he'd be like, "Hey guys, can you can you turn the music down? I want to play on my ukulele a little bit." So he's over there playing his ukulele, singing his own song.
And that's what he's doing in between takes, just to maybe help himself relax or something.
No, just as he's getting the makeup done, or like in between. Okay. Yeah, between the one take, I had to touch up the makeups in the one tent. And so we're like in there touching up the makeup, and he's just playing his ukulele, singing a song. It was just like, it's like such a cool experience, and you get to know these people on a different level. So
and you realize that he's an artist, like I'm an artist.
Yeah,
like we're just people, we're artists.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And even so, like it even goes that much further because yes, he's an artist, an actor, but at the same time now he's like writing his own songs and playing his own music,
and that was on Shameless.
Shameless, stuff? Yeah,
that's awesome.
And then there's like John Malkovich was amazing, but also like probably one of the most intimidating things because he's also from the theater world. He's done his own makeup for past however many years.
So he knows exactly what he wants.
So here I am doing all the prosthetics, including like we turned him into like 8 different David Lynch characters and
oh shit.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that you worked on that.
Really? You've seen it?
Yes.
Yeah. So
that's amazing.
I turned him into the Elephant Man and everything. And so like while I'm working on the prosthetics. I had no idea
that you did that.
Really?
Dude, that's awesome, man.
Thanks, man.
Jeez.
So while I'm working on the prosthetics, then you have the beauty artist who was like continuing the makeup where the prosthetics ended and working with the hair as well. And then even so, like you have John Malkovich, like who's done his makeup. If he doesn't see something that he likes or like I've never worked with him before this like week, like I'm not there in my process yet. Like I have to add these tones first before I add the reds.
And he's having to trust you, and
right.
So you have to, in a way, you're having to kind of prove yourself.
Right, and so he'll just like pick up some, like if he sees something and needs more red or something, he'll pick it up off the table without even saying anything, and just like he'll just stick his finger in there and just
while you're working on it.
While you're working, so there's 3 people working on John Malkovich, including John Malkovich. So like that was the most intimidating yet amazing experiences, and I learned so much just from like watch, because he knows what works for his face, so he's over there like doing certain things to paint out wrinkles and stuff, because he's a lot older than than some of these characters that we were putting him in makeup for. So it was really cool, and like he'll look in the mirror like And he won't say anything. Like I talk to him a little bit and stuff, or he'll be getting in a role and like saying the lines, but he'll look in the mirror and look at everything that's being done to him. And he'll give you a little, like he'll look in the mirror, and if he likes what you're doing, he'll just give you a little nod. And in the mirror, and you're like, okay, good, he likes it, you know. And he won't get out of your chair unless he likes it. And the only makeup that he didn't touch at all was the Elephant Man makeup, which was pretty cool because it was like, you know, I owned most of that one with a skull. He was almost completely in prosthetics.
Yeah.
But the crazy one is the one character, which this was like really intimidating, is we're turning him into Dale Cooper from Twin Peaks. And so they were making him look younger with hair, like a new wig. They're pulling his face back with facelift tape, putting normal, like really like natural foundation on him and stuff. And then, but John Malkovich loves prosthetic noses because it helps him transcend the character. But they told me, we don't need a prosthetic nose for this one. Well, I show up there, we need a nose. We need a nose. He wants a nose. So I had to go into mortician's wax and literally sculpt a nose on John Malkovich's face. So it's not just putting on makeup or gluing prosthetics on. I'm sitting here sculpting wax on his face to make it. So if you watch that, it's called Psychogenic Fugue. It's on it's online. I don't know if you can, depending on where you find it. It's pretty cool things. A bunch of photographs by Sandro Miller, and the videos directed by Sandro. And the one that's Dale Cooper, he has a wax nose on, which is cool because nobody can tell. That was intimidating. But then you also have people like Demi Moore, who, you know, watches Face Off with her daughter and was a fan of the show. So here we are talking on a different level, you know. And that was really, really awesome. And she was so sweet and probably one of the nicest people I've ever worked with.
And she's like, you know, listen, I had Bruce, and then I had Ashton, and you got to be closer in age to Ashton. And I saw Face Off. My daughter loved it. You into Demi? You know, you into that kind of stuff? You know?
Oh man, like
Cougar Town, buddy.
she's so beautiful. She's really beautiful.
That's awesome though.
And then like Taraji's sitting there telling me stories of Greg Canham doing her age makeup in Benjamin Button, and Greg Canham's like a master makeup artist who's also a friend and mentor of mine. Yeah. But like just to, you know, everybody's a little bit different. But what I find is like the more like the higher the success of the actor, the more like bigger the actor, like it seems like the nicer and more chill they are, because like it feels like they're appreciative of what you're doing for them. They're appreciative of that, you know, it's all this like team effort thing, and at the same time they're just people too, you know. And they're not. It seems like a lot more of the younger ones, you know, are a little bit more like trying to prove themselves, and they're the ones that might be, not all of them, but they're the ones that might be a little more like rigid, you know.
And in a way, I think, you know, the older actors that have been doing this for a while, they appreciate what you're doing because you are part of what their character is. Like they're appreciating the fact that, hey, you know, like you're part of my performance, you know. And that's true. Like, you know, the one thing that's interesting about, you know, doing this podcast so far is that I talked with my first guest was Daniel Arriaga from Pixar, and we talked a lot about character and about how when it comes to character design, caricature and that kind of thing that we're both familiar with, is a lot of times in animation and illustration, you kind of have to become an actor. You know, you've got to kind of, you know, like there's a lot of times, like tomorrow I've got to, working on a cover right now, and I'm going to have to take a bunch of pictures of myself and pose myself in certain, you know, with expressions and angles in order to help me create a crowd of people for this particular piece. You know, and you have to kind of be able to put yourself into that. And part of the thing that you're doing with the special effects is, you know, it's not just putting on makeup. You're literally applying character to that person. Yeah. You know, like even subtle things with expression, like you've got to know, you got to know how many wrinkles to put in, and even if it's not like a monster thing, it's, hey, you know, we just want this person to look slightly older. Right. You know, and that's a really delicate thing to have to do, and I mean it's pretty awesome, man. I mean, I don't know. It's. I gotta say, like for me, from my point on this is knowing you for a few years now. It's been a while, actually, dude. It's been
14 years.
14 years. That's crazy. That's really crazy, man. But to think about it, like just to like see where you went and where you've gone and know like where you're gonna go and continue to go. It's really encouraging, and that's why I'm super excited that you're talking to the people out there, because my whole point of this whole thing is I want to be able to bring your experiences and your knowledge and give it to everybody to inspire and encourage people, and it's just amazing, man. Like it's so cool. Like I mean, what if there's a few more drawings I want to show that people did of you, and but I want to know before we get to that, like, is there something, and there might be things you can't talk about, that's fine, but is there anything that you're working on right now that you're like super excited about, that you're just like, man, this is so much, I can't wait to get to the studio, and I'm just really into it. Like, what have you been doing like recently?
Well, we are continuing with the different shows and projects and things like that. We did a lot of work for a HBO pilot that probably won't be coming out for another year or so, called Lovecraft Country, by Jordan Peele and J.J. Abrams. So I'm like really excited for that to come out, you know?
Seriously? Jesus.
So that's
awesome, man.
That we've done a lot of really cool things. Can't say much about it, but definitely look out for Lovecraft Country when it comes out.
That's
I'm
amazing.
Really excited.
And you already did all the work for just the pilot?
Over the summer, just the pilot.
Okay, and so that's gonna get picked up.
Most likely, yeah. I'm pretty sure. And the rumor has it, unfortunately, it's looking like it's going to be filmed in Atlanta, which kind of takes out of our market a little bit, but we'll see. I'm not too sure yet.
So there's not a possibility that they would like fly you down and all that, or they're
not sure yet. Not sure yet. Usually they, because of unions and local tax incentives and things like that, they kind of stick to local, talent there. But I'm hoping that'd be awesome. But regardless, like I've been, continuing with different classes and workshops. You can check that out, But I do have a few of my own personal things that I've been working on, that artwork and sculptures and paintings and some stories that I'm excited to, when they're finally done. Not as easy to work on them when working on 1,000 other jobs, but
for sure.
But trying to get some of my own personal stuff in there is what I'm most excited about.
That's actually a really good thing that you brought up. Is the one thing that I think my listeners out there hopefully would be inspired by is that here you are doing the things that you're doing. You're working on a project with J.J. Abrams and Jordan Peele. And that's fucking awesome right there. Two geniuses, and that's an amazing opportunity, and that's a perfect blend. Like I can't even imagine the kind of thing that they're working on. So that's really exciting. But here you are, you're working on all these projects. You got all these things that you're doing, and you're still doing things on your own. You're still working on your own things. You're still drawing and sketching and coming up with ideas. And I think that's one thing that's really encouraging and exciting for people, because, the one thing is that it's hard for people out there who are not artists to understand is that we don't really like for me personally, I did not choose this. Right. This is just my passion. It's my life. And you know what? That I've had ups and downs in my life. I've had times where I'm like, oh my gosh, I maybe I need to get a real job. I don't even know what that would be. But, luckily certain things come into my lap, and I continue getting to work and paint and illustrate and do what I love to do. But even when I'm not doing that, I'm still drawing. I'm still painting. It's because it's what I love. It brings me happiness, but also it makes me it makes me feel like I'm it's my purpose, right. Like and also and the other thing about it is that I feel like one thing I try to tell people, and I've been teaching at schools for about 12 years now, or 11 and a half years or whatever. And the one thing I try to tell people is, part of being an artist is being a scientist. It's being, I think about that movie with Russell Crowe and I can't think
Mind?
of. No, not A Beautiful Mind. The one where they visit the islands I can't think of what it's called.
Explore.
It's they're basically going to Darwin.
They're
the islands
sailing, right?
With Darwin.
Master and Commander.
Master and Commander. Yeah. And I can't remember the actor's name. It's Jennifer Connelly's husband. And basically, he's out there. He's exploring, and he's being a naturist. Like he's like sketching every single thing, every animal, he's documenting every single thing that he sees, and he's putting it all down on paper. And that is what it's like being an artist in general.
Right.
Where like for what you do, you have to explore. You have to. If you're doing special effects on how to make someone's face look like, unfortunately, that they were stabbed or something like that, and you're working on a TV show like Chicago PD, you've got to do some studying and exploring. You've got to be a scientist. You have to understand what happens to the skin. What's the best result when light's hitting that a certain way? What's going to make that more dramatic? Where should we put the blood? Where should we do all these different things? What color is blood actually?
How is it going to look in this lighting? How's it going to look on that film?
Is it cadmium red? No, blood's not normally cadmium red, right? Not unless you're in an 80s horror movie or something like that. But that's the cool thing about what we do as artists, is that we are, trying to, the best we can, study and learn and explore, and it doesn't stop. It never stops.
Well, that's the thing is like with art, it's not a 9-to-5 job. It's not. There's no start and end. There's no going home and just turning it off. Even when I go home, like, and try to unwind before I can even try to fall asleep, like I'm still thinking about like the project or what we can do or different ideas to make it better, or how we can achieve this, or thinking about the next effect after this one, and it's always, you're always thinking and stuff. And like what we do is also, it started out because it was our hobby. This is what we enjoy doing, and there is a time where it does become a job. And so you are going to work on projects that you enjoy more than others, but that's why it's important to continue to, have that passion and have that drive to be able to do things for yourself once in a while, because like when your heart's in it, when you're able to do things for yourself and expand what you're looking for out of everything, that's when I feel that, that it's like soul cleansing. You just need it in order to like even continue, because sometimes like it is a hard industry, special effects, and just like anything, like the illustration industry, the animation industry, film, television, print, publishing, like it's all hard. There's a lot of people that are trying to do your job, and at the same time, like
exactly,
there's a lot of people who are trying to get you to do something for nothing, and having that ability to stand up for yourself and stand up for the next artist who's going to come in, it's like it's a big community, and that's the one thing we have to remember not to do, is to like cutthroat each other, because you're just going to ruin it for yourself or the next guy, and the whole industry. But like being strong and like being able to go home and still have that passion, still be able to like create, and still being able to like better yourself. And I think that's what it's all about, is you can meet the needs of the job, but is that job necessarily meeting your needs, And as an artist, I think it's more than just about meeting the needs of a job. It's like we've got to outdo our last project. We've got to we got to keep growing, we got to keep learning and keep making it happen. So that's really what it's all about.
And it's not always easy to do that, because a lot of times a job is a job, and you can't always 100% love the job. Like not every artist gets that chance to be able to do the job that they just 100% love. Sometimes you have to do a job where it's like, hey, I'm just I'm not really into this, but I'm getting to do my art and whatever else. But every once in a while, there are those jobs where you're just like, oh yeah, this is awesome. This is great, But that's just the way. That's the way the art industry is. That's the reality of it. So I think we should start wrapping this up a little bit. And we have a few more artists to look at, fan works, and so let's take a look at a couple more. So this next piece here is done by Ivor Tosic.
That's awesome. I love it. It's got that whole like Frankenstein's monster feel because it's alive thing. The lighting, the black and white.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
It's very dramatic. And this one's more sort of portrait-ish. Alan Davis did this. It's like caricature and portrait had a baby.
Yeah, it's good. It's me, but it's got a little bit of emphasis on certain features.
Your mouth looks like Gizmo.
Don't put me in water.
Yeah, don't feed him past midnight. He looks cute and fuzzy now, but just wait. This one's pretty cool, man.
That's awesome.
This one's by Lynn Davies. I don't know who that's supposed to be in the background.
In the background, that's actually that's Chris Brown.
Chris Brown, okay.
Yeah, because I did his music video for his high-end music video.
You're looking sexy in this. You're like, hey, I'm gonna lay you down by the fireside. You look sexy in this, man.
Yeah, they got a good mood, and maybe it's because I'm listening to Chris Brown music. I don't know.
This one's a pretty sexy one. The next one is by Andrew Haviland.
That's my Boris Frankenstein sculpture.
Yeah, I remember that one very fondly.
What's crazy about that is Boris Frankenstein, like that came this is probably one of my all-time favorite sculptures or art pieces because it was at a time where all I was doing was illustration, wasn't doing that more than any of the makeup effects, but I was working on this one project and it would like literally beat the living hell out of me because it was like such low pay, so many pieces. I do 33 illustrations for it, and of course I didn't want to like sacrifice any of the integrity of the artwork. I did go digital on it just to make it go a little faster, but it just went forever, and it was kind of soul sucking, and for this particular job.
Yeah.
But there was an opportunity to do these pigs, and there was like the 10 artists that were asked to paint these pigs, and I ended up completely resculpting mine. And it was all for a charity thing, and it was just so awesome because like it was the first time in a long time that I was able to like just do something that was completely me, completely do whatever I wanted, and that's what that was. So it's cool to see this
and
picture.
It's incredible. And by the way, you gotta send me some pictures so I can show people, when we do this. So the next one is by Tomas Madasi.
Well, that's what happens, when I do cut my hair short. You end up seeing the tips of my ears and you see the horns coming out of my head. But that's actually cool because right behind Jason is the Knox, which is the Fright Fest overlord at Six Flags Great America. I designed and created that character for them. And so it's cool to see me turning into him because it's it was a fun project to design and sculpt, so I am a little devilish.
This one is by I am so gonna butcher this name, Gaurav Shadare. I'm so sorry, my friend. I probably screwed that big time. But anyways, he has a question for you.
Sure.
And he said, how would you compare practical effects to CGI? Is it just a matter of director's preference, or does it really make a difference in the art of storytelling?
I feel that the art of storytelling is about telling the story, and there's many ways to do that, just like there's many mediums for any artist to select from. I personally am an advocate for practical effects just because that's what I do. But I also do, have a lot of friends and do enjoy CGI when applicable.
When it's done right.
When it's done right. The problem is I feel that a lot of times it's used as a crutch. in filmmaking where it's like, oh, don't worry about it, we'll just do it in post. We'll just do it in post. We'll do it in post, you know?
Yeah.
And what happens then is like they think it's going to be cheaper, but it spends so much money on getting it right because then they have all the time to do whatever they need to do. And if you watch any movies today, there's like, so the credits go on, this effects studio, and they're all CGI animators and compositors and everything, and so many names. And when you think about that, it's all those names that are making this even more money, you know? So it's like, not to say that they shouldn't have jobs or anything, that's awesome, but it's not as inexpensive as they think to go in post. And sometimes like when it's completely CGI, like the eye knows even if it's like a cheesy rubber monster, but it's there in camera, it just feels more real than sometimes the fluid CGI.
It's like the original Star Wars movie. We know that Chewbacca, there's a dude in a suit.
Right.
We know that Yoda's a puppet, but it looks so much more realistical. I just made up a word, guys. It's so much more realistic than what we see in the prequel Star Wars movies when everything's CGI. Yoda looks like shit in those movies.
Yeah, Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, it's just terrible. And even though it's like we don't care that it's a puppet or you know, the lighting is matching, the feeling there's someone in there working.
Right.
It becomes a little bit more believable.
And then the actors can play off that too better.
Oh yeah, exactly. And what you were talking about with how the CGI, you know, like the first thing that came to my mind was the Justice League movie and how terrible the villain in that movie looks. It just looks like a video game. You know, it's really, really bad. And it takes you out of the movie.
Yeah.
The special effects where you're showing Superman flying around or you're removing his fucking mustache for some reason, I mean, that you can kind of get over that a little bit. But the villain is so bad that it's like, dude, I can't take this story seriously.
Right.
It ruins the story.
That's the thing. You know, it's like when it takes, like, if whatever medium you choose to use, if you use it to the best of its ability, you know, like I still love traditional animated stories, but there's certain movies, like especially everything that Pixar does, that are absolutely incredible that you couldn't do traditionally animated. Like The Incredibles are so incredible.
Oh yeah, that's an amazing movie.
And it's perfect for the medium. You know, the problem is I feel a lot of times different films, like I said, they
abuse
what the cheaper or the quicker, what they think is better or faster, and they'll do that. And then what ends up happening is they have something on camera that's not as believable, and it takes you out of the movie. And when it takes it out of the movie is when it's detrimental to storytelling.
Yeah.
The whole point of the movie, the whole point of the music and the cinematography and everything involved is to keep you within that movie. But as soon as something takes you out of it, you lost your audience. And so for me, the best that's ever been, like I think it's when it's a blend of the two. Like, of course, as I've been talking about Jurassic Park the whole time, Jurassic Park was like a perfect blend because you had like CGI raptor, animatronic raptor, CGI raptor, animatronic raptor, and they're all like there, and it's tricking your mind because they all look amazing, but you're not seeing any one kind.
Yeah, I never noticed the difference, really, to be honest.
And then when there's like Lord of the Rings, there's so many amazing aspects to it. So it's like I personally like when there's a nice blend.
Yeah.
Or when like sometimes
and there's nothing wrong with it. You can't just be a purist.
No, you can't.
It's like, oh, it just has to be practical, or this because it has its place, but it can come across real cheesy. And if, the 80s happened. That happened, and we can watch the Gremlins now, and we love it. I mean, I love it. I still love that movie.
Yeah.
But it looks fake as shit.
Right.
But it's awesome because it was in the 80s.
Oh, right.
Now, if a movie came out like that now, the only way it would work is if it was spoofing that. You know, if you came out with a movie now where it was like that, you'd be like, oh, what the hell is happening here? But so there's definitely, that's where that artistic blend needs to come in. Where you have to have that, and that's what's amazing about what you do is that you're helping. Like you're ultimately helping tell a story,
And what's cool is when they come together. Like one of my other favorite movies is Pan's Labyrinth, and they have like
that's
this
awesome.
beautiful fawn character, or even the the Pale Man, and like they're removing parts with CGI or blending things with CGI, and they're like making it even better. So like the two are coming together for one character.
Yeah.
And we did some of that on Lovecraft Country, which was fun. That was the first time that we really got to play with the other departments. Like we got to play with the visual effects and the props and the special effects department and the makeup department, and we all got to play together. And that's when it's cool, because that's what it is. It's a collaboration, and like for me, that's what I enjoy about it is, and that's why I think coming back through going to school at the American Academy of Art and everything else is I got a chance to like really focus on learning visual storytelling and being able to implement that into my special effects makeups and take the character so far as I personally can take it. Mm-hmm. And then once I put it on the actor, then through the actor and then the director's directing and the way that it's shot, then it takes the character that much further. And it's a whole collaborative process, and that's what like always was exciting about it for me. So there is no right or wrong. It's only wrong when they over.
Well, also I think part of it, just like when an actor agrees to do a movie, and they love the script, and they love the director and everything. Ultimately, they're still kind of gambling because there's sometimes movies just don't work out. Like sometimes it comes down to the editing, and there's so many different aspects of it where it's not really one person's fault. Right. It's when everything comes together and you have this great movie. But I mean, there are terrible movies out there that have great actors in them, and they did a great job. You know what I mean? So the whole thing is a process, and it's just amazing that you're a part of, like, your art is there to help uplift and make it the best that it could possibly be. But we got a couple more, and then we gotta end this son of a bitch. This one is it's a kind of nice loose sketch by Justin Peterson, and you kind of still look like sad sexy in this one.
I kind of look like I'm looking at this like, really. like I got this look of I feel this is like the
I'm your daddy.
Yeah. And I've got a purple glove on. Mm-hmm. There's a story happening behind the story.
Maybe you're really the Joker. Who knows?
Well, I will not comment. I have not seen the new movie. I will not comment on the makeup. I will wait until I see the context.
Okay, and this is the last one, done by Rebecca Tassine. Rebecca, please write me and tell me how to say your last name, because this is the second time, I think, or maybe third time you've submitted work, and I appreciate your work very much, but I feel like a jerk for not saying your name right. So please let me know how to say it right, so I don't sound like an asshole every time. But this is a cool piece, man.
This is awesome. And
is that your dad with you?
Good eye. Yeah. No, what's been interesting is you guys have like gone deep and like have sought out some good pieces to draw based off of. So like we saw Frankenstein, which was like a very important part of like my creative growth, and a few other characters that I have created. But what's interesting about this one is this is my favorite makeup I did on Face Off. So it was really cool
awesome.
to see it be recreated in this light here. And
by the way, a lot of these artists, just so people understand this, I only give my fans about a week. So whatever they're doing in their lives, whatever's going on, they just want to participate and be a part of this, and I can't thank them enough. But I also understand they don't have all the time in the world to like try to do. They just do the best they can in the amount of time, and you know what? There's something charming and beautiful about that in itself, and so I think it's amazing that so many people are contributing to this. It's part of what makes this podcast fun and entertaining. So that's really awesome. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, thank you guys for finding and some of my artwork to incorporate into some of these. It's really awesome to see, and just all these different variations of me, and the expressions and personalities that you've pulled out are pretty incredible.
So
I think we can probably wrap it up about now. So it was amazing. It's been way too long since we've hung out, man.
Yeah, it's been a couple years.
It's not acceptable for sure. But we need to hang out again sometime soon. But before we end this thing, if there's anything you want to promote, direct people towards websites or anything like that, just let people know what you're doing, what you're up to, where they can find you, that kind of thing. Just let people know what's going on.
Yeah, you guys can check out my website. It's kosart.com, KOSART.com. I add the T, I know it's confusing. But you can also go to follow me on social media, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. It's at Kosart Effects, KOSART, and then the word effects, EFFECTS.com, or sorry, not .com, just at Kosart Effects. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all that stuff. Try to post on there as much as I can. It's kind of hard with some of the projects I work on are usually hushed, and by the time I'm able to post, it's usually when I'm already in deep on the next project. But you can find some cool things on there and keep up with a lot of things I'm doing or whatever conventions or appearances that I'll be doing. Or classes that we're going to be doing. We do classes regularly.
How do people find your classes?
So you can find our classes all on the website, kosart.com. There's a thing on there that has, a little classes tab. And they're not as regular as we used to do them just because we've gotten so busy ourselves. But we do have different pop-up workshops. We might be taking some on the road and doing some workshops in various places. Awesome. But right now they've been out of our studios in Westmont, Illinois, and we just had a workshop a couple weeks ago. We had someone coming from Mississippi for the class, and we've had people from all over the country, people from Mexico and Canada coming to our classes. So, but we are going to try to take some on the road and do some here and there, just whenever we can. And then we also have an amazing, I know a few of you have illustrated the airbrush there in your pictures and stuff, and I have a very, very, very sexy airbrush called the Kosart Phantom Pro.
Ooh. And
we've had it for several years now.
Sexy.
We have airbrush workshops and stuff that the students get one, but they can also be purchased separately. And after the new year, we'll be gaining another stock of that. So
that's awesome.
Check the website for when those are back in stock. It's the sexiest airbrush you'll ever see. So.
And this is the longest podcast I've done so far, but I don't think people are going to complain because this was packed full of awesome stuff, awesome inspiration, encouragement, I think. Great artwork. And thank you so much, Anthony. And
thank you, Jason, and thank you, everybody.
And we'll all see you guys soon.